This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. Welcome to the Photography Guild.
Welcome. This month we're going to be talking about taking portraits. Now there's lots of information out there on taking portraits, but I'm going to be coming at it from a little bit different angle. One of the things that I really like about taking portraits is I like the challenge of trying to bring out a person's personality and then being able to capture that image in my camera. You know, many times when we see people's formal portraits, we really don't get a sense of who they were. We're not seeing any kind of emotion, and many times we're not capturing them as they really are. In this podcast, I'm going to be using a series of photos that I've taken through the years of my son. And as with everyone, there are many different sides to his personality. Now in this photo, you get a sense of who he is. You can see that he's a young man, he enjoys filmmaking, and he takes it pretty seriously. Now, if you were to take this portrait and compare it to the formal portrait that they took of him in high school, you wouldn't get a sense at all what he was about during that time in his life. So for me, it's capturing these kinds of moments that really is what makes taking portraits fun. Now, like I was saying, formal is not the only way. A great way of capturing people's personality is to be doing something that they are totally at ease. Now, in this photo, my son was in the back of a car in Europe, and he's a big, tall guy, and he was in a very tiny back part of this car, and it was just so funny to see him all crumpled up back there. Well, many times when you do take photos of people when they are really at ease, you find that they are moments in time that you can go back and remember years and years later. So if you want to make people feel at ease, you as the photographer need to feel at ease, and there needs to be a connection between you and the person that you're photographing. Now, you may not have ever met them before, but even in the moment, if you can find a way to connect with them, you'll get much more vivid and lifelike portraits. Now, when you are going to take some portraits of people, absolutely take some of the traditional straight ahead, straight on ones, but then take some other ones where you start playing with different angles. Now, if you remember back in one of our early episodes when we talked about composition, it was really amazing how we could change the whole feel of a photograph just by choosing different angles. And you really should try it with people. It can be a lot of fun. Now, here are a few techniques that I use when I'm taking portraits. If I'm outside, I usually try to have my back to the sun. Now, the only caveat with that is you need to make sure, like in this photo, my son had his sunglasses on. You want to make sure that the person isn't squinting, but if you can have your back to the sun, the lighting will usually be very good on your subject. Now, another thing to consider is if you're going to go for a full body shot like I did on this one, if you do decide to do that, really look for things like where their hands and feet are. Many times their feet will get cut off in the photograph, and you don't want to do that. So if you go full body, really make sure that their hands and feet are inside the frame. Now, another thing to remember is when you're taking a portrait, you want to have your subject filling the frame. So there's a couple of ways you can accomplish that. One is you as the photographer can get up close to them. Sometimes that can be a little intimidating to people, and if that seems to be the case, you can go with a long lens. That way you can be back further, but you can zoom in and have them fill the frame. Now, another thing that's kind of fun is is to consider having them hold something. Now with children, it can be a favorite toy. You can a lot of times elicit all kinds of great expressions from them when they're playing with that toy. And then with other people, like in this one, I had my son holding his poles, he had his snowshoes on, and it really just adds to the feeling of what he was about at this moment. Now, if you're going to be photographing younger kids, here's a couple of techniques that I do. One is get on their level. Either bend down, kneel down, or lie down. But you really want to capture their eyes. And if they're a lot shorter than you, you're not going to capture it. You're going to get this distorted perspective thing going on. So really try to get on their level and make it about their eyes. And again, like I mentioned before, you could have them hold some kind of toy. Lots of times that will help break the ice with a child. And this one has always worked for me. Have them talk to you. Maybe have them tell you a story. It really helps kids become a lot less inhibited, and you can get some amazing expressions from them. Now let's start talking some specifics. Now the gear you will want to have when you're photographing people is you definitely want your standard lens, but don't forget about using your zoom as well, one of your longer lenses. This can really aid you in getting these great close-up shots, these very intimate facial expressions without invading a person's personal space. So don't forget about your zoom lens. Now in terms of settings, I'm always shooting usually in AV mode, in aperture value, because I want to control the depth of field. Now if I'm doing a shot where it's just a headshot, I may go with a very shallow depth of field where even their hair or ears could be slightly out of focus, but their eyes are real sharp. But if it's a longer distance, I may go with a deeper depth of field because I want everything to be in focus. So you have to kind of decide that. The other thing too is if you're taking photographs of people when they're in action, then you're definitely going to want to switch into your time value. But I would start practicing in the AV mode first. Then of course when you're composing the photograph, you want to fill the frame with the person as much as possible. And then when you're back at your computer in your digital darkroom in post-production, you're definitely going to want to crop and eliminate any unwanted elements. Remember, when you're taking a portrait, it's really the person and many times their face that should be the subject. So your assignment this month is to take some informal portraits of people. You know, this is the perfect time of year to be doing this because we're going to be spending a lot of time with friends and family during the holidays over the next couple of weeks. And you've got this captive audience. You might as well take your camera with you and see if you can sort of develop this side of your photography skill set. And then who knows, if you get some really great shots, you can save them and give them as gifts next year. So the next time we get together, I thought we'd talk about photographing weather. You know, a lot of times people think the best time to take photographs is when the weather is just bright and sunny, but you can really get some amazing photographs when the weather is inclement. Now don't forget to share your photos up in our Flickr group. Some of you posted the most amazing minimalist photos from our last episode. They were so beautiful and so inspirational. Thank you so much. Don't forget, people love seeing your photographs. So if you want to know how to upload them to Flickr, just go to our website and there'll be a link there for you.
For more information on this episode, go to our website and visit the Photography Guild show notes. Also, if you have any questions or ideas, send us an email. Thanks for watching.